Hello, it's Dr. Tina Heath here once again, transpersonal psychologist and hypnotherapist from Healthcare for Your Mind. I'm here today to share a little more from the book The Science of Being Well by Wallace D. Wattles, originally published in 1910. And I'm hoping that if you've been following along with these short videos, not only that you're really beginning to enjoy and learn from these excerpts, but also I hope you're beginning to realise why, as a hypnotherapist, I find Wallace Wattles' work so inspirational. So let's move on. Chapter 4, What to Think. In order to sever all mental relations with disease, you must first enter into mental relations with health, making the process positive, not negative. One of assumption, not of rejection. You are to receive or appropriate health rather than to reject or deny disease. Denying disease accomplishes next to nothing. When you enter into full and constant mental relations with health, out of necessity, you must cease all relationship with disease. The first step in the science of being well, then, is to enter into complete thought connection with health. The best way to do this is to form a mental image or picture of yourself as being well, imagining a perfectly strong and healthy body, and to spend sufficient time in contemplating this image to make it your habitual thought of yourself. This is not so easy as it sounds. It necessitates the taking of considerable time for meditation, and not all persons have the imaging faculty well enough developed to form a distinct mental picture of themselves in a perfect or idealized body. It is much easier, as in the science of getting rich, to form a mental image of the things one wants to have, as we have seen these things or their counterparts and know how they look. We can picture them very easily from memory, but if we have never seen ourselves in a perfect body, a clear mental image is hard to form. It is not necessary or essential, however, to have a clear mental image of yourself as you wish to be. It is only essential to form a conception of perfect health and to relate yourself to it. This conception of health is not a mental picture of a particular thing. It is an understanding of health and carries with it the idea of perfect functioning in every part and organ. You may try to picture yourself as perfect in physique. That helps. And you must think of yourself as doing everything in the manner of a perfectly strong and healthy person. You can picture yourself as walking down the street with an erect body and a vigorous stride. You can picture yourself as doing your day's work easily and with surplus vigour, never tired or weak. You can picture in your mind how all things would be done by a person full of health and power. And you can make yourself the central figure in the picture, doing things in just that way. Never think of the ways in which weak or sickly people do things. Always think of the way strong people do things. Spend your leisure time in thinking about the strong way until you have a good conception of it. And always think of yourself in connection with the strong way of doing things. That is what I mean by having a conception of health. In order to establish perfect functioning in every part, a person does not have to study anatomy or physiology, so he can form a mental image of each separate organ and address himself to it. He does not have to treat his liver, his kidneys, his stomach, or his heart. There is one principle of health in a human being which has control over all the involuntary functions of his life, and the thought of perfect health impressed upon by this principle will reach every part and organ, A person's liver is not controlled by a liver principle, his stomach by a digestive principle, and so on. The principle of health is one. The less you go into the detailed study of physiology, the better for you. Our knowledge of this science is very imperfect and leads to imperfect thought. Imperfect thought causes imperfect functioning, which is disease. Let me illustrate. Until quite recently, physiology fixed 10 days as the extreme limit of a human being's endurance without food. It was considered that only in exceptional cases could a person survive a longer fast. So the impression became universally disseminated that one who was deprived of food must die within 5 to 10 days. And numbers of people, when cut off from food by shipwreck, accident,